Have you ever been hated for something just because you were born? I've been paying for my dad's crimes since I was 2 years old. See, my father Mark was this total scumbag who scammed half our town out of their life savings before he just disappeared one day. I don't even remember the guy, but apparently that doesn't matter to anyone here. Growing up in Millfield was like living with a giant target on my back. Every time something went wrong, people would look at me first. When Mrs. Johnson's garden gnome went missing in 3rd grade, she marched right up to our front door demanding to search my backpack. My mom just stood there apologizing while I emptied out my Pokemon cards and juice box. The teachers were the worst, though. Mr. Williams would always seat me in the front row so he could keep an eye on me. During math tests, he'd hover over my desk like I was gonna cheat or something. One time I got a perfect score, and he made me retake it because he didn't believe I earned it honestly. Kids at school weren't much better. They'd whisper like father, like son, whenever their lunch money went missing. I remember this one kid named Trevor started this rumor that I was planning to rob the school carnival. Complete BS, but half the parents believed it anyway. My mom worked double shifts at the diner and cleaned offices at night just to keep us afloat. She'd come home exhausted, still smelling like french fries and bleach, but she never complained. Sometimes I'd catch her crying at the kitchen table looking at bills, and I knew it was because people wouldn't tip her properly. They'd leave exact change and dirty looks instead. The breaking point came when I was 12. Someone broke into old Pete's tool shed behind his house and stole a bunch of expensive power tools. Within an hour, 3 neighbors were knocking on our door pointing fingers at me. The cops showed up that same afternoon. Officer Bradley didn't even pretend to investigate properly. He just asked me where I was the night before, like I was already guilty. My mom begged them to leave me alone, explained how I was home doing homework the whole evening, but they acted like she was covering for me. Apple doesn't fall far from the tree, Bradley muttered as he left. I'll never forget those words. That night I decided I was done being everyone's scapegoat. If the adults wouldn't figure out who really did it, then I would. I started going to Pete's shed every day after school, looking for clues they missed. First thing I noticed was the footprints in the mud. They were way bigger than mine, probably size 11 boots. The cops never even measured them. I followed the trail through the woods behind Pete's house until it reached the main road where it disappeared. Then I remembered seeing this older kid named Danny hanging around the pawn shop downtown. He was always bragging about having money, but never seemed to work anywhere. I rode my bike there and pretended to browse while listening to conversations. Sure enough, the owner mentioned someone selling a bunch of power tools cheap just 2 days after the break-in. He described Danny perfectly. Tall, red hair, always wearing that stupid backwards baseball cap. I confronted Danny behind the school gymnasium with all my evidence, showed him photos I took of the footprints next to his boots, told him I knew about the pawn shop. The idiot broke down and confessed everything. Turns out he needed money for some video game console and thought Pete wouldn't notice a few missing tools. Danny admitted everything to the police the next day. You'd think that would fix things, right? Wrong. Some people in town still whispered that I'd probably turn out like my dad eventually. Like being related to a criminal made it inevitable or something. But instead of breaking me down, all that hate just made me more determined. I started studying harder than ever, staying late at the library every single day. My grades shot up to straight A's. I joined debate team and student government, won essay contests about justice and fairness. Senior year, I got a full scholarship to study law at the state university. The day I left for college, Mrs. Johnson actually had the nerve to tell my mom she was proud of how I turned out despite everything. I wanted to tell her exactly where she could shove her fake pride. 4 years later, I graduated at the top of my class, passed the bar exam on my first try, and guess where I decided to set up my practice? That's right, good old Millfield. The irony is beautiful. Half the people who used to cross the street to avoid me now sit in my office begging for help. They pay me good money to defend them from the same kind of unfair judgment they put me through my whole childhood.